just expand again, so I know we just did a show of hands on who's helping candidates find employment or coaching them, but all the rest of the people who didn't put up their hands, are you guys in the recruitment side of things, just so I can get a feel for everybody here? You are?
Yes. Who's in recruitment?
Recruitment or HR side? Okay, perfect. No, thank you so much for having me here today. It's a real honor to be joining you, and thank you to Talent Pool for having me as well. I'd like to say that if anybody has any questions at any point, please don't be afraid to just interrupt, ask a question. I'd rather this be, an open learning discussion and an opportunity to get the information going back and forth, than just me sitting here talking. And there will be sections for questions, but don't be afraid to just, ask at any point. So it's hopefully going to be a really interactive, casual environment that way. So as Nicole mentioned, Manpower has been a leader in the forefront of not just the employment agency side of things, but really the market analytics of where the market's going. We do a lot of surveys and a lot of predictors of the marketplace and industry, of excellence in the HR side of things. So varying different topics at all times. So what we've done is taken some of the main points that, we were asked to put together a presentation for, and hopefully this will help you guys in, your business and, you're supporting the candidates or recruitment or whatever side that may be. And we'll go from there. But Manpower's been around for almost 70 years. And one of the things that, we have all different industries, of course, and we're in all different sides of recruitment on that side of things. But what we have really unique to be able to stand up here in front of you guys today is that we have our finger on the pulse of what's happening in the marketplace. I mean, you don't become one of the leaders globally in our industry without knowing where the market's going and, who's hiring and what industries are, expecting to, move in certain directions. So, we have that side of it. We're working directly with companies through all different industries, throughout Alberta. So we're really close to, the changes, the struggles, the positives of what are happening, as well as, of course, the, market intelligence that we do through all of the investment in surveys and information and the marketing side of it. So it's a unique feel. We talk to the candidates. We're, very close to kind of all spectrums, the client, the candidate, and then, of course, the internal side of it. So if everybody might take a little bit different spin on the information out of this, and I just encourage you, whether it's during this presentation or afterwards, this is a resource. I'm a resource. If you want to call me next week or next month, feel free to do so. We're here for, your information, and that's how we work all the time. So without further ado, I'll just continue on here, and I forgot I have to click this. Oh, the clicker's not working. It's not working. Okay, thank you. So we'll just continue to go on. So I'm not sure if any of you guys are experiencing this. I just threw in some fun little jokes here, but this is often what the candidate's feeling when they're applying to a job, and that's whether it's directly or through some sort of a technology system, but they're waiting to hear back. Maybe they never hear anything at all. And of course, on the other end, the recruiter, HR, or, person that's hiring is getting inundated with, the resumes and applications. And I don't know if anybody's experiencing this over the past year, but what we've seen is it's just, you put up an ad and you get 1,000 applicants or hundreds of applicants. And out of that, you're sifting through and trying to find the couple that are, going to be, qualified or work for the position that you have. And it can often feel a little overwhelming on both ends of the spectrum. So, I think this is a good demonstration of how the manual system works, where we get a pile of resumes to go through and we have to decipher through them and read every one. And I think things are really, really moving away from this, and that's sort of what we're talking about today, and how technology is changing the way we recruit and the way candidates apply. So, oh, you're there, perfect. And then I wanted to bring this, and you guys have a handout, just a quick summary, and if anybody wants the full version, I can email you a soft copy. But basically, something that Manpower does that's very unique and different than probably any of the other surveys that you've actually seen or been given information from. Typically, surveys will take an actual of what happened the quarter before. So they're predicting the final results of what happened in the past. In this case, Manpower Group has done an employment outlook survey for the past 60 years, which actually predicts the future. So this is a survey that has been taken a sample of 1,900 different companies throughout Canada, and they're asking information specifically on where they see their business going, what industries are going to be hiring in. My slide. What industries are going to be hiring, sorry guys. And what it does is it's predicting where the expected market is going. If they're planning to decrease their headcount, if they're planning to increase headcount, and which industries are going to be affected the most for the next following quarter. So this is something that is an industry analytics predictor of the market. And we do it for Alberta, we do it for all of Canada, Western Canada. If you're interested, your company specific to a city, you can look at that, or if it goes further than that, you can take a look all over. And it's a little bit, it's definitely statistical in that sense of things, but it's really interesting, and it's been highly, highly accurate for the past 60 years, to the point that it's actually been tracked by the media on being able to track the economic outlook. So interestingly enough, it looks like there's 12% of the employees are expecting to increase levels, and this is for Q1. And only 6% are expecting to decrease, and 79% are expecting to stay the same. So that's actually a really positive outlook for Alberta, considering the past year that we've had with, the oil and gas shutdown and different things that have been affecting our market. So things are looking positive, and that's really important to understand, because that's going to affect the candidates that are coming into your companies that are applying. It's also going to affect how the candidates are getting, called back for things. So on the side of where you're supporting candidates, know that there's going to be more jobs coming in different areas, and there'll be pockets where it's busier and pockets where it's still a little slower. So it doesn't affect every different area, and this is really pinpointing the industries where it's expected to pick up, and then knowing where it's going to stay a bit flat.
So can I jump in?
Yes.
So I'm curious, how many of you in your own organizations are beginning to feel that you're going to be needing to get additional staff? I was in Medicine Hat 2-3 weeks ago, and I came away from there with them telling me that basically they were already experiencing shortages. So to be able to understand where we're heading is going to become critical, because we could find ourselves into the famous bubble very quickly for those specific skills that you guys are interested in. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to see the snapshot.
Absolutely, and in fact, we're actually in the last 3 years. This is a 3-year high. We're going into Q1, so it is turning around, and the lines are all showing that 2017 is already shaping up to be a far, far busier year than the last 2 years. So the participating employers are categorized into 1 of 4 organization sizes. There's micro businesses, which are less than 10 employees, the small businesses, which have 10 to 49 employees, and medium businesses, which have 50 to 249 employees, and then of course a large business, which has over 250 employees. The job gains are anticipated in all 4 organization size categories during Q1 2017. Large employers anticipate a solid payroll growth with net employment outlook of plus 30%, while outlooks stand at plus 13%. So it takes an average of the size of company, and that's how you can really understand the data, is where your company maybe falls in that spectrum, just as far as size is concerned. So quarter over quarter, the outlooks are 11% and 4% stronger for large and small size employers, respectively. Elsewhere, the hiring plans remains relatively stable for both the medium and the micro. So we're going to see, and this is expected, the large companies are going to all of a sudden have higher demands faster. And I mean, we see it even when they downsize. It's, sometimes 1,000 or more people at once. Well, the same as when it picks back up. They hire at a greater volume. Thelma?
I know that the not-for-profit sector is very strongly represented in this group. So can you tell us how that sector is included in this survey? Based on the number of people that work in an organization, or is there a separate piece?
Yeah, so they don't specifically pull out non-for-profit, but it would be by the number, the scale. It would be included in that. So depending on how big the company is, I would fit yourself into that sector. So, and also whether it's directly hiring for that non-for-profit company or you're helping support your end user client, I would say is the way to look at it. So, are you supporting another industry sector, or are your candidates coming from a certain industry sector? Are you helping a lot of administrative candidates, or, a lot of industrial candidates? And I think that would be the way to interpret it from that third party perspective. I don't know if that answered your question.
And I think that the way to look at it as well is when the normal economic sectors are down and downsizing, there are more people interested in the not-for-profit sector. As soon as that flips back up, our sector has issues recruiting. And it's already beginning to tilt. And if we keep that in mind, as Casey's going to walk us through the shift in skills that is going to be hitting us, that is where our eyes and ears as not-for-profit organizations need to be wide open. Because that's the train that is coming barreling at us.
Yeah, and we'll talk about some of the areas where we're expecting there to be the greatest demand, of skill shortage, and that'll be really interesting information as well, because that's where you'll be able to support the best. Perfect. So basically the employers reported encouraging signs for job seekers in the first quarter of this year, reporting a net employment outlook of plus 9%, so needing to increase by 9%. Staffing levels are expected to increase in 9 of 10 different industry sectors, which is amazing. So really, if you see, there's all of the different industries that get pulled, and you'll notice that there is public administration in there, and I think you'd find that non-for-profit fits quite nicely into that sector as well. And interestingly enough, that is recorded as the highest demand coming, is in public administration. So at plus 18% coming into Q1. So again, these are the very jobs that were outplaced last year, and now that's the highest demand coming into this year. So really interesting turnaround, and I think that's going to be, we're going to see that start to change things a lot coming into even Q2.
So I'm curious, when you recruit, typically, where do you get most of your candidates from? What background? Okay. So this is going to impact. Education also, that is in third place, is going to have a huge impact. As that ramps up, for us, it's going to be more difficult to attract the right talent and the right skills.
In fact, the top 3 industries that are expected to have the highest growth this quarter all actually fall into sort of the public sector side of things. So it's public administration at 1, transportation and public utilities at 2, and education at 3. So really, the impact is going to directly affect your areas, and a lot of the candidates that you're going to be looking to hire are also going to be the candidates that the large corporations are looking to hire, and that skill set is going to be in high demand. So
Back to the past.
Why the public administration increasing so fast?
again, all of these facts are coming from the employers. So this isn't information that we put out, and that's what makes it really unique, is that it's actually the companies that are telling us who's hiring. So we're not this isn't our information that we're publishing. This is the information of employers across Alberta, across Canada, who are telling us this is where the needs are going to be in their business. So that's even more important to understand, because it's
a repetition.
It's a direct pulse on the market. So it'd be like if we called everybody in the room and you told us what positions you were going to be hiring this quarter, and then we put all the information together and then told you the results. And if half of you were all going to be hiring public administration, that would be the results. And we're just simply publishing the results.
Now, I've got a question. I'll keep jumping in.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, yeah.
Why do you think that public administration in Alberta is going to jump this much? Actually, not just Alberta, because this is Canadian stats, but in Alberta, why do you think that this is the sector that's going to jump? Government initiatives. You need people to run projects and programs. So when you're looking at our provincial government's agenda, more people are needed to run those projects, those programs. So that impacts this kind of statistics. And it's the same across Canada, because every single province has said the same thing. I'm sorry?
Are they cutting budgets?
Well, the next budget is going to be fascinating. The federal budget is coming up at the end of February. That's going to be the first indicator. And then all the other budgets are going to cascade. But if you think about public works, which is supposed to be the big generator of jobs, if we only look at that, people are needed to run those projects. So it's going to impact us.
And furthermore, I would also pose the thought process of where does a lot of the government jobs sit in Alberta?
That's
right here in Edmonton. So I would say that that's something also that Edmonton needs to think about specifically, is that there's going to be a direct impact on that skills requirement or shortage once those people go back to work. It's going to happen right here to hit a little bit of a boom as well for needs. So
well, and I can say for a fact, we're in Calgary, so our ministry, we work with 2 ministries. Both ministries have just hired 6 people in the last 2 weeks in Calgary. So those are already jobs that are being filled by potential candidates that you and your colleagues might have wanted to recruit. And every single individual that was recruited came from the private sector. So that's how we look at this. And it's important to know, because of course it's going to impact us, right? So does anybody have any questions? I know that's a lot of statistics and maybe a little bit drier content, but it's just a really important precursor to kind of the entire conversation that we're having today. But does everybody understand how that works, or have any questions at all about any of that information? No? Have we scared you enough? That's just the beginning.
It gets much later. Perfect. So going in, we have something that we like to call the skills revolution. Has anybody have an example, or has anybody seen where technology has changed an industry and created that unknown world of what's going to happen now, or how is that going to affect the jobs in that industry, or the people working? Can anybody think of a time where this has happened in the past? No.
Right now. right?
Well, or what about when ATMs first came out for banking? There was a time where that wasn't, people were still going in to do their banking in person, and it wasn't everybody's not doing it on their phone, and you couldn't take a picture of your check and do all of your bill payments right at an ATM. It was very manual. And when, I don't know if you guys remember back to this, but when it was first coming out where they were moving everything to automated tellers, there was a bit of a market scare. Does that mean that there's not going to be tellers to walk into? Is it going to change the customer service that you get in a bank? And there was a lot of market scare. And, it was interesting. At the time, they expected that it was going to replace all of those jobs, that there was going to be less need for people to be at the front line, when in fact, the end result was completely the opposite. So what it did, the automation of banking actually increased the jobs that we now see in the banking industry, and we have more customer service tellers employed today than we ever had. And that's completely counterintuitive to what we would have expected automation to do in an industry. And that's what we can expect from the short term with automation in industries today. So as we continue to see things changing and things moving to a more automatic or technology-driven format, we're going to see that in the short term, there's going to be a shift in the skills required. So it's not that it's going to necessarily completely replace a job. It's just that the skills needed in the employees are going to change. Now there's going to be less routine tasks being done by people, and computers or automation will be able to do those things automatically, but people will be able to be more creative in what they offer the companies and how they support the organizations that they're with. So it'll actually cause us to have to hire in a higher skill level to support the automation, if that makes sense.
How many of you already use some kind of higher level of technology in whatever you do, whether it's intake, whether it's processing, but right now, how many of you are using technology? There's quite a few.
I'd say at least 50% of the room.
Yeah, so that's great, because it's going to get to be needed more and more. And what we're going to try to do, really, so that you know, is to get us to a place to understand that we're going to come to a stage where we don't have a choice. We have to embrace more and more technology so that we can do more and more, which means we're going to need to hire those skills, or we're going to have to upskill our current colleagues and partners, and then we're really smack competing with business. So the more we understand what it is that we're heading for, the better position we are in our sector to be ahead of the curve.
Yeah, and just to kind of reiterate that, there's just a couple quotes from our CEO and chairman of Manpower Group, North America. We can't slow the tech change, but we can invest in our employees' skills to increase the relevance and resilience of our people. So, it's going to come to a point where if we don't invest in education or skills training within the current employee base that already exists, as technology continues to change the current job status, either you're going to adapt and learn new skills to keep up with the pace and still be relevant in your position, or you're going to, find yourself either out of a position or needing to find something different. That is what we're going to see. So the more companies can actually look at that and invest and upskill and keep their staff learnability strong, the more everybody will just adapt and move along with the technology times. So helping people upskill and adapt to this fast-changing world of work will be the defining labor challenge of our time. Businesses should ask themselves, how are we ensuring our workforce is agile enough so we can continue to compete? So, and I think we are seeing that. in different areas. And you know, we're seeing where one job isn't necessarily the only job that people are doing either anymore. Sometimes you're, you know, now doing multiple positions in a company or having to adapt and wear multiple hats. And we're just going to see more and more of those kind of creative positions as things start to change and workload comes off your table. You'll be able to pick up other things. So on this slide here, we asked 18,000 employers in 43 countries the 3 questions. The likely impact of automation on headcount in the next 2 years. Which functions will be most affected? What are the strategies that they're adopting to ensure they have the skills they need for technological advances? And the fact came back that 90% of employers expect their organization to be impacted by digitization in the next 2 years. So we are smack right in it. And this is global, so 90% globally expect there to be a change due to technology. So it's a pretty substantial time right now. I mean, we're right on the verge of things moving in that direction. But short term, as I mentioned before, the future of work is bright. It's not going to be completely, they're not going to completely shift out the current employees. It's going to be that you're simply needing to increase help with the integration of technology. So that's a big difference. 83% intend to maintain or increase their headcount and upskill their people in the next 2 years. So the intention is not to let people go or to, you know, downsize their companies. It's actually going to be to increase or to stay the same. And only 12% expect to decrease due to automation. So that's positive.
So we're over the bubble. That's what it means. And then when it shifts, as we all know in Alberta, it just shifts. And then all of a sudden, we can't hire anymore. What I find fascinating about this is the fact of what Casey said earlier, that increased technology does not mean less jobs, but it means different kinds of jobs.
I'll just add a comment to that with the manufacturing sector. I visited the engineering department in the U of A. I was invited there, and that's exactly what the professor there shared with me. He was showing me a semi-automated like machine that they were building, and that was the first thing that came to mind. Well, how many people will be out of a job? And on the contrary, it was we need to revisit what skill sets are required and more focus on creativity and what can we do differently as opposed to how to even automate the machine, but how can we exhaust the resource and use it to the full capacity, and what can we do outside of the box becomes the new focus. So manufacturing is seen as big time as well.
Absolutely, and perfect example. I mean, that's I think where it's most commonly seen actually is in the manufacturing or the automotive industry. I mean, we see robots making cars now. So and there's still a huge employment happening in those industries as well. But now it's instead of manually having to do those processes, they're now running and operating the machines or doing different positions. So
I also think there's an educational component to the employers where the first almost like knee-jerk reaction is we have to lay people off or we have to cut our headcount. I think there's an educational component to that as well, so that they're ahead of the game in terms of, well, we're doing this great piece of equipment or machinery, how can we still use the workforce that we have in a different scope, if you will.
Absolutely, and that's where we come to the upskilling and training, educating the current staff that we have to be able to do other positions. And it's not that there's going to be an abundance of these people out in the market either. It's not that you can let those people go and then just rehire people that have those skills. It's going to be a complete shift in the market where everybody's going to need to be moving in that direction.
So I'm just curious. How many in this room need to report through Mobius? the provincial government system? No? Lucky you. How many of you have to report through ICARE? Lucky you. Now imagine if you had to do monthly, quarterly, end of project reports on two massive government databases and systems that don't speak to each other, and then you have your own internal reporting structure, whatever that looks like, whether you have a scorecard or not. And now you've got an entire team dedicated to doing nothing but Excel spreadsheets. And they don't talk to each other. Now, you're the lucky one. I'm going to give you Edmonton. Because Calgary is exactly the opposite of you. They're all mired in avalanches of reports that don't speak to each other. So you can imagine who you need to hire, how many people you need on hand to do the same Excel spreadsheet, but with 2 data points difference.
Well, not only that, a lot of the technology, and when I say technology, the software that are in the government, specifically in those kinds of systems, are proprietary. And in the past, that was a very common way to be, is have your own software system, your own people who know how to run it, and then they'd tweak and fix and add things and adjust it as needed. Well, now we're in a time where those systems are now outdated and they're not compatible with other software systems. And we have a problem because only so many people know how to run those proprietary systems. So there's a huge shift happening as well, just on the IT side of things, where there's software and technology upgrades happening to try to transfer all that information into newer upgraded software systems and still be able to utilize the systems and have them linked to work together. So we're seeing lots of changes on multiple sides. We have the automation side happening, where things are becoming a lot more automated, and we also have the IT technology side, where the programs are being more sophisticated, and now they're linking in with other programs, and having companies needing to move with that side of things as well is really important. So a little off there, but this is basically a map of where the prior information was taken from globally, and it just kind of breaks it down as to which countries are expecting to hire the most due to increase their headcount due to automation. So Canada is expecting to increase between 1 and 10% across the country. So again, that's hiring directly due to technology improvements. And we see the highest hiring needs in Italy. And the country that's expecting to actually lose headcount is India. And they're expecting a negative 20 to 30. So again, this is where a lot of manufacturing has been done for years, and they're in a different place altogether than where we are in Canada. So you see kind of that evolution of where things go with automation. So all in all, which positions will digitization impact the most? Well, the future is bright for IT, HR, so you guys are in a good place, and customer-facing positions. Skills and talent matter even more in the skills revolution. With this being said, skill cycles are shorter than ever, and 65% of jobs in Generation Z will perform are not even in existence yet. So the positions that we expect them to do in the future don't exist. They haven't even been mapped out yet. And that's a really interesting thought. 65% is a lot. So that means that that's how much it's going to shift the current landscape of what we know as the job bank or the job market. The value we put on different skills will change in the future. Digitization and growth within skills will bring opportunities as long as organizations and individuals are ready for it. Technology will replace both cognitive and manual routine tasks so people can take on more fulfilling non-routine roles. Creativity, emotional intelligence, and cognitive flexibility are the skills that will tap human potential and allow people to augment robots rather than be replaced by them. Skills adjacency, agility, and learnability are crucial. Automation can replace 45% of active jobs and 5% of the full job currently. So, industries most affected will disproportionately impact some workers more than others. So low-skilled, low learners, and women, surprisingly, fall into this category. And you may ask why, because that seems like a strange category to put women into. But a lot of the roles that will be impacted are sales, business, financial operations, as well as office and administration. And they're the industries that are most under threat from automations, and these tend to have the highest proportion of women in them. So that's where that comes from. Industries which expect job growth, including architecture, engineering, computer, and mathematic roles. So really those STEM industries tend to have the lowest, and they tend to have the lowest proportion of women in them. So that's where we really need to, if we're supporting candidates that are looking to re-educate or go into other industries or do some skills upgrading, those are good areas to encourage them to go into, because that is going to be where the demand is, and we just don't have enough people in that side of it that come from the women's side. So just to give you kind of a scary stat, in the current trajectory, if it continues, women could face 3 million job losses and only 500,000 in gained jobs, which is more than 5 jobs lost to every 1 gained. And that's just based on the facts of currently where the jobs sit.
So what it means is that we have to get
technology.
We really do.
Yeah, STEM-related industries. So the future of work will require different skills, and employers will need to focus on reskilling and upskilling people more than ever before to address the talent shortage and anticipated demands of tomorrow. So 74% are investing in internal replacing, and 39 are easing the transformation by bringing in contractors or third-party vendors, such as an agency, to transfer expert skills to their workplace. So,
for the sake of time, see, I think you can log on directly to these videos, and I really recommend that you do. But we're not going to be showing them right now because we've got some material to cover and we have to go on break.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're only
they're live links on the PowerPoint. So if you bring the PowerPoint up on your computer, you'll be able to click and you'll be able to view them. Okay. And I recommend them. They're really a very good primer as to what has happened. So if we do this one and then we break. Okay? We'll pick that up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in summary, the environment of the workplace we know is constantly evolving due to technology. Over the next 5, 10, and 20 years, we'll see a rapid acceleration of automation and technology replacing human skills, which is why it's so important to adapt along the way and improve the processes and learnability of new skills into the movement of recruitment and candidate application processes when it comes to job search. Whenever you're on the side of an internal HR, a recruiter, a third-party vendor, or a candidate, the times are changing day by day in how we apply for positions, review a resume, complete skills assessments, or just simply vet the candidate qualification. So once upon a time, we used to just read the whole resume and see if we like their experience and their skills. Nowadays, we have sophisticated apps. People can apply for a job while they're riding the bus, or they can quickly upload into a automatic application system. It's very sophisticated, and once they get into that system, the system then can search by keywords. We're making our resumes now, or if you're aware of it, more based on keywords to an advertisement. And it's changing. It's changing the way that we make our resumes. We're customizing them based on each different specific position. Recruiters are searching resumes differently and finding candidates differently. It's not necessarily that they're, phoning you to get you to describe even further into a position. If they can't see directly on your resume that you've, done those 5 skills they're looking for, you might not get that call, even if you had the skills. So it's created a transfer of how you get the information to the end result and how the end user, whether it's a recruiter, HR, an agency, how they identify that you're qualified. And in a lot of cases, this is all done by automation. And it's filtered down. So when you hear candidates, if you're on the support of the candidate side and they're saying, well, I put out 100 applications and I'm not getting any calls back, I would suggest that it would be take a look at the resume or how it's being formatted and why that's happening. It's not necessarily that the skills don't exist.
How many of you interview by Skype? Probably this time next year, the entire room will have the answer. There's not enough time.
Or two, is that something?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Whatever the tool.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, those of you that said yes, that you currently interview by Skype, what are the benefits?
Saving expenses of having candidates come in the office for no overall picture.
Okay, that's number one. What's another expense? Another benefit?
Well, we only do it when the candidate is able to come in, so we're able to interview people from different provinces or.
Okay. I'm going to suggest that there is a hidden benefit of watching really up close the body language of the candidate without being distracted by the conversation. You can pick up an enormous amount of clues interviewing a candidate via Skype, because that's all that you see is that image in front of you, and it's very difficult to disguise facial expressions, eye movements. So we get into another realm, but it really works well for recruitment purposes. It gives you a different perspective. So even if you did 15 minutes by Skype and then your regular interview, you're going to come away with a very different impression than just face-to-face where, there's the chit-chat and whatever. Skype is a bit more difficult to break that ice. So I was just curious. So just a little bit different.
Perfect.
So I suggest we take a 10-minute break. We'll come back and we'll continue. And I'd really like both of us, we would like to hear more about your current experiences and where you see that you're going. Because, as an industry, you're smack in the bubble right now. Okay, so 10-minute break.
Great, thanks.